Hi everyone, it's Danielle with North Lawn Flower Farm. Today I want to share a really quick tutorial with you on how to propagate hydrangeas using just water. This is one of my favorite ways to propagate hydrangeas. It works about 99% of the time and it really takes very minimal effort on the gardener's part. Now you can also propagate hydrangeas by hardwood cuttings, semi-hardwood cuttings, layering, but the kind of propagation I'm going to be showing in this video is taking tip cuttings and rooting them in water. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to take the cuttings. We'll talk about the timeline that's best for this type of propagation, and then I'll show you the results after 6 weeks and what I'm doing moving forward. So we'll head over to some of my big leaf hydrangeas in 1 second and take some cuttings together. But before we do that, it's important to note when the best time to take these tip cuttings are. A tip cutting is the top portion of a hydrangea shrub, and we also want to take cuttings from branches that aren't going to bloom, just branches that are producing leaves only. I find that in my zone 6B, where we have a first frost of mid-October and a last frost of mid-April, that it's really best for me to take these cuttings in late May to early June. That way they can grow on inside in water for about 6 weeks, which puts us at the end of July. At that point, and what I'm going to show you today also, is I pot them up into potting soil and continue to grow them on in a windowsill in my home for about another 6 weeks. And at that point, the heat of summer has broken. I can harden them off for about 1 week, plant them out into the garden, and they have about 8 weeks to get established before our first frost. So the timing is going to be a little bit different depending on your first and last frost, but if you want to take a cutting and get a new plant in the ground in the same year, I find that taking the cutting in early June is what works best for me here in my zone. So the first thing to do is to set yourself up for success by taking your cuttings very early in the morning. It's about 6:30 a.m. now. It's a great time to take hydrangea cuttings. The stems are fully hydrated and nice and turgid. And so basically I'm looking for a cutting that's about 10 inches long, but don't worry about that too much. Anything between 8 to 12 inches is great. I'm gonna make the cut right below a leaf node. Then I'm gonna cut off most of the lower leaves. I'm going to leave on this particular cutting 4 leaves intact, but basically I just want the cutting to focus on root growth rather than having to worry about keeping these big leaves hydrated. Some people will cut the leaves in half. Propagation in water, I don't find that necessary, versus propagation in soil, that is a little more necessary. But after you have your cutting, all you do is stick it in water. So I just put it in a glass jar just like this. I make sure the water stays topped up. You start to see roots in about 3 to 4 weeks, and in 6 weeks it'll look like this. You'll have hydrangeas that have these wonderful root systems and they're ready to go into potting soil. So I just have some professional grade potting soil here in this 4x4 container. I'm going to water it a bit just to moisten the soil up for me. And then all I'm going to do is make a hole for my cutting. You can see we have lots of great roots already started for us. I'm going to pop that cutting right into the cell, cover it with soil, give it a nice watering here at the soil level. Basically what's going to happen is that all of these roots are going to form little rootlets and they're just going to expand all throughout your cell, so you really have a nice full shrub, a baby shrub still, to plant into your garden, and it's absolutely free. And so you might be saying to yourself, well, Danielle, if the cuttings are going to end up in soil at the end of the day, why not just do that from the start? Why go ahead and start them off in water? And I think it's partly a matter of personal preference and also just your lifestyle. Sometimes work will take me out of town for a week or two, and if I've just taken a whole bunch of hydrangea cuttings and stuck them directly into soil, I really need to be very present with those hydrangea cuttings. I need to be watching them. Sometimes they might need misted, sometimes I might have to work with a dome or even a propagator mister system. So I feel like for the busy person, if you want to really be hands-off but still propagate hydrangeas, water propagation is the way to go. And once they're in soil, since they have the root system on them, you don't really have to worry about them rotting, you don't have to mist them, you just treat them as you would any other household seedling. So friends, this is just one way to propagate hydrangeas, and I'll be sharing lots more different methods in the months to come. Thanks so much for continuing to support me by liking the videos and leaving a comment. I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel if you love gardening as much as I do. I want to wish you a great day, and I'll share an update in about 6 to 8 weeks when these little baby hydrangeas go out into the garden. Bye!